Good afternoon. Today we're here talking about how to support your client in digital networking. And here at the podcast studio, I have with me Nick Cotton. Welcome.
Hi, Casey. Great to be here with you today.
Would you mind telling a bit about where you come from and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So originally I'm from UK. I've lived here in Tampere for 18 years. And currently I'm working for International House Tampere. And that is a single service point. It supports internationals with living, working, studying and connecting with local employers. And my part in all that is to run the Talent Advisor service. So that's supporting international talents to find opportunities that are going to accelerate their employment and networking plans. And it's for international talents and students already here in the Tampere region or those wanting to make a move here.
Great, yes. And those of you that don't know, International House Tampere has been now in place for about 1 year.
It has, yeah, that's quite right, thanks. And we've got a real world presence down on Rautatiehen and Kaatu 10. And of course, all of our services are available online as well.
Great, yes. So, now that we're talking about networking and digital networking in particular, based on your own experience, how familiar are your clients with digital networking? What would you say? And its different tools like, say, LinkedIn and other platforms?
Sure, yeah, good question. So what I tend to see is that clients coming from overseas are a little bit more aware of digital networking techniques and particularly LinkedIn. So they know all the tips, tricks with those tools. Tends to be with students, and of course this is a generalization, but it tends to be with students that they're just beginning on that journey. So there's a lot that we can help them with in terms of how to network digitally, particularly related to hidden jobs. So this is something we very much emphasize, and the importance of networking towards finding those hidden gems, if you like. And then LinkedIn, very often for students, is a completely new tool. So there's a lot for them to go for there.
Yes. And would you say that your clients, they don't need motivating in this? Are they motivated enough in themselves to learn new techniques and these tools in order to go job hunting in Finland?
Yeah, I'm not so sure it's the tool side of things. I think one thing that I will always emphasize is, when should I start networking is a question that's frequently asked. The time is now. So the time to start networking, either in real world or digitally, is before you need it. Because when you need it, it's probably too late, or it's going to be very difficult to get those contacts, to get that information, and so on and so forth. So it's good to start growing your digital network, if we talk about perhaps LinkedIn as an example. So get your contacts there as early as possible.
Yes. And if I have understood correctly, you have these kind of events, sometimes even at the house, where you encourage people to take up on all these tools and, trainings on LinkedIn and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe not so much from International House Tampere, but a number of the other services that we partner with. And particularly when I'm providing a consultation for a customer, then we encourage them, our customers, to do the basics. So set up a job alert on LinkedIn. This is a great tool. I still have one now, and I'm fully employed. You never know what might pop up, but don't tell my boss. And then, of course, other hints and tips. So make sure your profile is open to recruitment for recruiters. All these things, if you're really looking for that job, all those things can help you maybe get ahead of the game. So
Yes. And I also think that many employers are cruising on LinkedIn, even though if they're not at that particular point recruiting someone, but they kind of keeping their options open and their eyes open in for the future reference.
Absolutely. And if you've got your settings right and LinkedIn tells you all about this, then you're going to know when someone's looked at your profile, and you're going to know that it's a recruiter in many cases. So very useful information.
Yeah, exactly. So, like you mentioned at the very beginning, you are yourself an international talent who is settled here in Finland. Could you tell me a bit how you've used networking, both online and face-to-face, in your own professional life here?
Yeah, sure. So, I'm a worst case example. So I left it probably later than I should have done to grow my network. I was confident that the employment bubble I was in, which was Nokia mobile phones, would last forever. And of course, nothing does. So what I should have done is start growing my network a lot earlier, particularly in LinkedIn. But when I became aware of the value of it and the need for it, then I worked very, very hard at that. I think another important thing is who do you include in your network, digitally or socially or whatever, or in the real world. So it's good to have those local contacts, most definitely, but it's also good to include a certain amount of international contacts in your network, So the local contacts, they're going to help you possibly get that job. Or find out what's up in the employment landscape at any one time. But it's the international contacts that really can help you keep up to speed on your specialised area and even learn new things from them as well in your particular area of expertise.
Right, yes. And just out of curiosity, if you compare, I know you've been here for long now and things have obviously changed over the years, but would you say that there are some differences, like if you compare UK, where you come from, and Finland, how networking is done?
I can't really say too much about that. As you said, I've been out of the UK for a little while. I think in Finland, what I've learned is that as I've already said, it really does count if you can make a solid connection in your network. So that's going to help. So in Finland, a lot of times it's someone that that knows somebody else who's going to help you find that job. Perhaps that is the key difference, because not so much on the digital side, but in the real world, that it's not as much like that in the UK. So networking becomes vital here. The other thing, just to go back to, if I may, your previous question about
Sure.
What did I do? So I think one of the key things is to really spend a lot of time working up your professional profile. And that could be something that, it's described in a cover letter, it's in your CV, but when it becomes digitized, that is the thing that's going to mark it and showcase your skills. So it's worth taking a lot of time on that. And they do say you never get a second chance to make a first impression. But in the digital world, of course, this is not quite true. So, it's good to try it out, see how it flies, get some feedback and adjust it and have another go at it, as it were.
Yeah, that's a very, very appropriate tip. So, would you say that language, in this case, obviously knowing or not knowing a Finnish language since we are in Finland, would you say that plays an important role in successful networking? So if you are an international talent here thinking now, oh, I don't really know Finnish language that well, how can I go about networking? What would you say to those people who may be pondering this?
Yes, of course. Well, I think in the first case then, Finnish language is extremely important, and in my experience, a little learning of the Finnish language can go a long way. So you may not become fluent or a master in the language, but if you can show that you've made the effort, you can have some kind of low-level conversation, a coffee time or whatever. I think that's extremely good. Should you, or would that hold back your networking? No, I don't think so. You should still continue to grow your network, particularly on the international side. It's not going to impact it. And locally, you'll find that most people who are in LinkedIn or whatever can speak pretty fluent English. So, but all that changes, of course, when you get back into the real world and you're maybe going to an interview, or you're maybe meeting someone and discussing whatever with them.
Yeah, but you would definitely say that if somebody is now thinking, should I write that particular employer or company LinkedIn, say, a message saying who I am and, you know, I'm maybe interested in working for you in the future, you could do that in English and then maybe at the later stage say something in Finnish then.
Absolutely, yeah. You're quite right there. So the advice I would give is always make that application, always approach that recruiter, even if the job says perhaps Finnish language is desirable. You need to have the confidence that you are a skilled professional, and as an international, you're bringing something else to the game, as it were. But still, Finnish language is, as I've already said, is going to help you. It's going to be a further advantage. But I wouldn't let that stop me applying for jobs or networking. Definitely not.
Good. So I think you touched upon this theme a little bit earlier on when you talked about with whom to grow this network of yours, or with whom to socialize. What would you say to that? That very often internationals are being criticized of being within their own bubble, so to speak, socializing only with their own countrymen or people from the same cultural background, and not really trying to make an effort to grow their network. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I think you need to set some long-term goals, first of all. Where is it you think you're going with your career, and what opportunities are you looking for? And then you can grow your network based on those decisions. So it's a bit like the employment search. You kind of go through this career advisor stage, and then you can plan what kind of jobs you're looking for and grow your network accordingly. Of course, in real life, it doesn't work quite as systematically as that. People will just ping you on LinkedIn, can I join your network? And you can decide or not. But I think the key thing is to have a good mix of both international and local contacts. So as I said earlier, that's going to help you keep up with the game professionally on a global basis, but also you'll know what's happening, what's up with the employment landscape locally.
Right, and then moving on to my very last question, if we're looking at Finland and maybe Tampere and Pirkanmaa in particular, some might argue that the networks here are quite small, that everybody seems to know one another, and sometimes it's difficult to get into circles, so to speak. So what would you say to those? I think this applies not only to foreign talents, but even people who are returning to Finland with like foreign degrees and maybe work experience gained from abroad. How can you make that first step?
Sure. Yeah. So I think one thing you can do is add value to your network. So networking, whether it be real world or digital, should be a two-way street. So you can offer support to persons within your network. You can be very active by joining other organizations that might be in LinkedIn or outside, and start contributing to all those. And also there's the opportunity to even blog there if you want to. A lot of people do this. So you're actively contributing to the network. That creates closer contacts. It can create trust, and thereby then you have the opportunity to get closer to your contacts locally, and as you say, maybe use the phrase break into those different circles of activities. So that's one way to do it. And before you know where you are, somebody that was just an online contact, you're sharing a coffee with them. You know, that's the next logical step. So
sure. Okay, I would like to thank you very much for this very insightful interview. It was good to hear your thoughts, and I hope this was as useful for you as it was for us.
Absolutely, it's been a pleasure. Thanks very much, Kissy.
Thank you.